Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go, this is Valley News Live at 5.
We begin tonight with new information. No arrests yet, but police say they have now questioned the people involved in a bar fight that left one man dead in the Northern Valley. Good evening and thanks for joining us. 36-year-old John Torres of East Grand Forks died on Friday after being beaten outside of a Crookston bar on Christmas Day. Investigators are now working with prosecutors to file possible charges in this case. Valley News Team's Neil Carlson has more on all of this, including an interview with the victim's wife.
Rita Sines says on Christmas Day, she and her husband John Torres were at Captain Crook's bar with a couple of friends. When John stepped outside with a man they didn't know.
Was talking to some guy, and everything was okay. No argument, no fighting or anything like that. My husband's not that type of person to start any problems with anybody.
Sines says Torres came back in the bar a few minutes later and was bleeding from his ear. He told her that he was jumped and beaten by 3 men. Torres died of an apparent brain bleed this weekend. Police say they've now questioned the suspects.
Are the people of interest in this case cooperating, or have they retained lawyers and stopped talking?
That part I'm not going to, because it's ongoing investigation, I'm not going to comment on that.
Okay, all right. But you know everyone involved in this case?
We believe so, yeah.
Chief Biermeyer says they're now working with prosecutors to determine what type of charges may actually be filed in this case. Meanwhile, Rita Sines and her 4 children are left without their husband and father, and no explanation yet as to why this happened.
We rushed him to Grand Forks, to the Ultra Hospital, and at that time they did a CT scan and saw that he had internal brain bleeding along with the fractured skull. Underwent surgery and just never woke up again.
In Crookston, Neil Carlson, Valley News Live.
Now, Sines calls Torres her husband. They had been living together since 1998 and have 4 children. Sines says that they had planned on becoming legally married this month. A new political campaign season is beginning, and along with it, people are soliciting donations. But make sure you know who you're giving money and information to. The Better Business Bureau says scammers might monopolize an election season. A woman called their whistleblower hotline saying over the weekend she gave money over the phone, thinking it would go to Representative Kevin Cramer's campaign. But after hanging up, she wondered if it could have been a scam.
I love all these candidates and everybody, so I didn't even think about it being bad.
Now, we talked with Cramer's office, and they have confirmed Johnson was contacted by their campaigners and everything was legitimate. But with months of campaigning left, make sure you ask a lot of questions and verify everything. We started investigating this story after a call from a concerned viewer. If you're wondering about a possible scam, call our whistleblower hotline at 701-237-6576. Leave your tip, and a member of our investigative team will get on the case and go to work exposing the truth. Well, it was a winter white sight on the trees this morning in the valley. How beautiful is some of that frost coating the branches? Let's talk to Hutch Johnson for a look at what's going on this evening. Hutch?
Well, we have to worry about the wind a little bit with gusts over 20 miles per hour across the valley. It's straight out of the south, though. That's transporting warmer air into the valley. So temperatures overnight tonight not nearly as cold, although we could certainly still see frost. With wind comes wind chill. It feels like it's in the single digits in many locations this evening. But for Fargo, Moorhead, we're anticipating clear skies and winds to be pretty persistent. Over 20 miles per hour through our evening, with temperatures hovering in those lower 20s for most of the late evening hours. We will see mostly clear skies, giving way to a few more clouds that we see there on the setting sun out in the western sky. I'll have details on some above normal temperatures that continue, but the season's coldest air of the season. I almost said year, but that'd be a pretty short
That's
record.
true. It might be true, though.
Really cold air is heading our way. I'll have details here in just a few minutes.
It is January. Okay.
Yes.
Thanks, Hutch. One of the two hockey players accused of making a sex tape with a 15-year-old girl was sentenced today. Thomas Carey has been sentenced to 10 years of supervised probation, but will not have to register as a sex offender as long as he does not violate probation. Carey will also serve another 2 weeks in jail. He was sentenced to 45 days in jail, but has already served 30. Some of the probation measures Carey will now face include no contact with the victim, no internet access without approval, and he cannot be in possession of firearms, ammunition, or explosives. To some new developments now, the University of North Dakota Police Department has identified a man found dead over the weekend. Police say 19-year-old Braden Robertson of Tulsa, Oklahoma was found on January 2nd. The officer found Robertson unresponsive in a vehicle. An ambulance arrived and he was pronounced dead at the scene. Police say the preliminary investigation indicates that no cause for public safety or concern. Anyone with information, though, about the death is asked to contact UND Police Department. Robertson was not a UND student. A West Fargo police officer is facing charges and a department investigation after being arrested for a DUI. Investigators say 38-year-old Weston Christensen was arrested around 2 a.m. January 1st by the Cass County Sheriff's Office. Christensen's an officer with the West Fargo Police Department and currently serves as a school resource officer. He was hired by the West Fargo Police Department in November 2013. He assumed the role of school resource officer then last January. As students and teachers head back to school after the holiday break, many of the classrooms don't have a full-time teacher. North Dakota's school superintendent, Kirsten Basler, says there are still 204 teacher openings for the current school year. Basler says it's an indication of the seriousness of North Dakota's teacher shortage.
This should be an alarm to all of us that this is a serious situation that we have in North Dakota and that we have a serious crisis of qualified teachers to teach our students in North Dakota. We must stand up and find a solution to this problem sooner rather than later.
35 career and technical education teaching jobs are still vacant. There are 32 openings in social studies teaching jobs, 28 vacancies in special education, and 20 open positions in business education. Basler says schools have been hiring retired teachers and administrators to fill some of the openings. A task force has been put together to look for solutions to the teacher shortage problem. A website showing job opportunities in North Dakota is also being developed. Well, some might say this past year has been a difficult one for law enforcement officers. Many have been in the spotlight because of the way they do their jobs. And many questions are being raised about whether or not officers are using too much force. But when something bad happens to you or you find yourself in a life-threatening situation, who are you going to call? Probably your local police or sheriff. And that brings us to an event coming up this weekend. This weekend, National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. Friday, students, families, and employees of schools in Clay County are being asked to wear blue to show their support and thank law enforcement.
A lot to be said for communities that expect a lot out of their officers. And I think in the Moorhead Fargo area, we've got that. We have to, the toughest part of my job is being worthy of leading the kind of people that we've got on my department, and the toughest part of their job is being worthy of the kind of people we have in this community.
Now, you can also show your support for law enforcement by putting blue ribbons on your home or decorating with blue lights. Before you reel in a big catch, the North Dakota Game and Fish Department has a reminder for you and all other winter anglers. Clean up the ice when you are done, because it's not only unsightly, it's illegal. The law applies to fish being left on the ice. Anglers are allowed to fillet fish on site, but they must also take the proper disposal methods, which should be done at home. In addition to the fish, anglers are also asked to clean up any trash, including aluminum cans and styrofoam containers. A man with a nearly 3-decade-long career in the spotlight is coming to Fargo. Richard Marks will be at the Fargo Theater on Tuesday, April 19th. Tickets go on sale Friday, January 8th at 11 a.m. The prices are $35 and $65. To this day, Marks is the only male artist in history to have his first 7 singles reach the top 5 on the Billboard charts. For more information, head to valleynewslive.com and click on this story. It's championship week for the NDSU Bison football team. They are gunning for their 5th straight national football championship in Frisco, Texas. We invite you to watch our Farmers and Union Insurance Bison football pregame show on game day. The crew from Valley News Live will be down in Frisco. It's live on Saturday at 9:30 a.m. Game is 11 a.m. on ESPN2.